In Victor's world, the Hellhounds are among the oldest and most evil creatures. As mere pups, they were larger than full-grown wolves, lurking in the darkest pits of hell, searching for souls to feed on. The Hellhounds belong to this entity, Zelza, the demon of hell responsible for collecting and torturing souls for all of eternity. Zelza is known as a higher demon with a power scaling unimaginable. Higher demons are mostly giants, standing at 10 to 15 feet tall, and strike fear in the hearts of those who merely glance at them. Archine is Zelza's underling and has been tasked to collect souls on Earth, guilty and innocent included, to build an army for the battle ahead. The innocent souls get tortured so much that they have no choice but to give in. Due to natural law, higher demons cannot walk the earth. Hence they send their pets or their minions to do their dirty work for them. Now, while natural law can be broken, ever since the incident with Ragnar and Gilroy respectively, no higher demon would risk their life to be on Earth. They fear the White Wolf, and the first ever vampire. There are only 3 Hellhounds. The youngest is called Monstrous, known for its incredible ability to rip flesh off the bone of any creature, normal or supernatural. Its jaw widens much like a Burmese python, 4 times wider than its skull. The second born is Monstrous, known for its brute force and speed. A swipe from this Hellhound's paw and the fight would end instantly. Monstrous also has the ability to turn invisible, even to those who are marked for their soul. The firstborn and the leader is known as Monrog, much more powerful, faster, and intelligent than the other 2. This Hellhound usually sits back unless there is dire need for its skills, but most of the time the other 2 do get the job done. Now, to put things into perspective, Monrog is the size of a bull moose, that is 6 to 7 feet tall on all 4s. This Hellhound is so fearless that Zelza sees it as an equal rather than a pet. Monrog loves his brothers dearly. He spends most of his time patrolling the dungeons in hell and making sure that every soul gets tortured right till their breaking point. Monrog reeks of sulfur and is the epitome of evil. Now, while the Hellhound sits on his throne, his beloved brothers are fighting Victor, the werewolf. The Hellhounds chased the townfolk into the forest. They ran for their lives from monsters they couldn't see. Ordinary humans would be incapable of witnessing the beast from hell, but they felt its presence. It felt like an evil creature the size of the trees ran behind them. They felt the ground shake. They felt that fear flowing through their veins. The end was near. Men, women, and children were running out of time. The werewolf, however, could see the Hellhounds. Fiends, pure evil incarnate. And this was a new feeling to the werewolf. A new feeling indeed. Was this fear, hesitancy, or sheer panic? Monrax and Monrix walked slow and steady. They never needed to run. In the hounds' hearts they knew death and destruction was inevitable. Their eyes wandered the forest, and finally their target was in sight. Victor the grey werewolf stood far away from them. They could smell the fear on him. Terrified or not, he stood tall and strong, but his focus divided. How was he going to get the townfolk to safety? The Hellhounds weren't alone. Weaker, expendable demons from hell stormed the forest in front of them. They ran towards the werewolf as each tree they passed withered and died. Though Mondrax felt a bit hungry, a slight deviation from the mission wouldn't hurt. 15 to 20 townspeople should be a worthy snack. So Monrix followed, and just before they could devour the little girl in their grasp, a massive explosion erupted. The entire forest lit up purple as waves of energy ruffled the trees. An aroma, sweet and alluring of jasmine, had gently kissed the nose of the werewolf. In the midst of all the chaos, the feelings of calmness caressed the forest. Monrax was trapped. A ball of soft purple energy barricaded the Hellhound, hypnotizing him by keeping him stuck. What magic was this that it was so powerful it could keep a vicious fiend like Monrax at bay? At least that's what it seemed like. Monrax wasn't bothered at all. This purple portal poses no threat whatsoever. In the Hellhound's mind, this was more like, let the witch have her fun. Let's see how long it lasts. The weaker demons were pushed back by the magical explosion. It wouldn't be long before they rose, but Victor walked carefully, trying to touch the purple energy scattered throughout the forest. It felt like a dream. A huge round portal opened up in the forest, and the townfolk ran towards it without fear. They've seen something like this before. They weren't confused or taken aback by the purple aura. Then, a voice softer than velvety fabric, so smooth, warm, and comforting, said calmly, "Make haste, my dear people of Redwater. Fear not jumping into the portal, as this would lead you to a lake, and the fall would not hurt any of you. Hurry now, don't look back." No wonder the townfolk weren't afraid. This immensely beautiful soul was none other than Myra, the witch and the protector of Redwater. Her long dark brown hair, so smooth, wavy, and elegant. The witch had breathtaking purple eyes and plump lips. With her long purple dress, silky smooth as her skin, she looked at Victor and gave a smile. No words were spoken, but her eyes showed deep gratitude for the wolf as a thanks for rescuing 2 of her orphans 2 days prior. More and more people entered the portal, and once they passed a certain point, they vanished into thin air. This was Myra's speciality. She wished that she could have the elemental powers of fire or wind, which were more devastating to foes, but space and time served her valiantly. The people, however, were falling into a lake located in the city called the Harrow. A very quiet place with the vacant wooden houses and shelters. Although, maybe Myra made a mistake. This was a poor decision made in the heat of battle, for this was the last place that anyone needed to be in. She knows what lurks in the Harrow, always watching carefully. Or maybe the witch knew exactly what she was doing. The frightening, powerful monster is probably seeing the innocent people falling into the lake. Maybe this was a message to him from Myra, almost trying to urge him to leave his cabin on the mountaintop. Or perhaps this monster dwelled in his cave below the mountain. This plan, however, was something that she really hoped worked. If it didn't, the townfolk would be devoured, and it would be her fault. The weaker demons in groups of 3 had got up to their feet. They ran like wild animals, possessed by an evil force that would drive them to fight, no matter how much of pain they received. Myra summoned 7 stone soldiers to her aid. "Help me fight the demon," she said. These stone soldiers have served Myra for her entire life. They were protectors passed down from her late mother, and she respects them dearly. Meanwhile, Victor ran towards Monrix, the hellhound that wasn't trapped. The werewolf could sense how strong this beast was, and wanted it nowhere near the witch or the people. With each stride, the demons got closer. Myra formed a huge magic ball with her left hand, filled with purple and black substances. Her long silky dress blew elegantly with the gush of wind the ball created, and then she threw it at the weaker demons. Finally, time to breathe. The witch opened another portal from the ground this time, and called upon a giant, terrifying creature. Xena, she called it. "Protect the portal with your life," she said. "Make sure that no demon passes through." The monster nodded in acknowledgement. But her most trusted creature of protection was a 50-meter purple snake with the dragon-like scales and amber-colored eyes. The witch called this powerful pet Nala. "My baby," she said. "Your job will be to prevent the Hellhounds from reaching the werewolf. No matter what happens, he cannot die." These hellhounds are extremely vicious and powerful, so please be careful. The snake flickered its tongue at her and slithered away with haste. Just as Monstrous was going to bite the werewolf, Nala wrapped her body around it, squeezing the hound of his life. Monstrous snapped its double jaw, biting the snake each time, weakening the grip. Too much of the witch's power had been working at once. Her energy fluctuated, and the barrier that trapped Monstrous, the bigger hellhound, made a fuzzy sound before disappearing, and Myra panicked. Monstrous, without hesitation, ran towards Victor, disappearing with each stride that it took, making it seem more terrifying than it already was. It lunged at the werewolf, swinging and swiping its paws each time and missing. Victor, in a low stance, was able to dodge the attacks, but while he got slower, the hound got faster. It picked up on his movements, and more troubling, the werewolf could not land a single blow. Victor climbed up the tree as he hissed and growled at the hound. That feeling of fear had crept in again. There was something about these hellhounds that made the werewolf's skin crawl. From tree to tree, dodging the hellhound and failing at landing any distinctive blows, the werewolf got angrier. His rage built up and his eyes glowed yellow when he dived in for another shot. And this was his mistake. Myra, in her panicky state, pulled up a larger, stronger purple portal as quickly as she could and sent it towards Monstrous to trap him. Since this was heavier, it would take time. The stone soldiers were making easy work of the weaker demons. Nala lost her grip on Monstrous as she got bitten repeatedly. She then vanished into purple dust. While Nala didn't die, the snake would not be summoned for a very long time. Myra's calm nature was slowly slipping from her, but the snake did slow Monstrous down. The hellhound struggled to walk, with little to no blood circulation. What started off as a tactic in the favor of the werewolf and witch had slowly changed course. The witch exerted too much of energy in such a short space of time. A few droplets of blood fell from her nose. Victor wasn't fast enough. The right claw missed the hellhound completely. The grey werewolf was now on his knees. This is what Monstrous wanted. All this time it was toying with the werewolf. He charged at Victor so fast and rammed the werewolf with so much of force that he flew miles away. The back of Victor's head hit the tree trunk. This place. Where are we? This is the void. You and I were hit in the head pretty hard this time. Our bodies have separated. This entire conversation is happening in your mind, created by your subconscious. My wife loved this type of scenery. You know, she always told me that we needed to settle down somewhere similar like this. I feel tired. I have no idea what I'm doing here. If I had never taken this trip, then I would still be a doctor, performing surgery or working on my research. If I had never taken this trip, then Lisa would be alive. This curse would never have found me. I think this is my farewell, werewolf. This place, this world, monsters, vampires, demons, this was all the stuff that I have read from mythology. I don't belong here. My path for revenge has led me further away from reaching it. Forgive me, but I cannot save these people. Victor, you are a doctor. Aced your exams and graduated with flying colors and on your own merit. No siblings or cousins. Parents passed on at a very young age as well. Your beloved wife has parted from this earth, and you have every right to feel this way. But do you know what is the most difficult part in treating a patient suffering from a disease? Well, that's complicated. One would have to provide diagnosis of the disease at hand, the different types of surgeries, the different types of medication, therapies, risks, costs. It's a complicated matter. No, it's the choice the patient makes whether to be treated or not. When a person suffers with something, the easiest thing to do is just to lay over and accept it. The most difficult choice that a person can make is to admit that something is wrong and ask for help. And many times the outcomes may not be successful, but taking that step forward is a victory on its own. We should never give up. No matter how tough the road ahead may seem, we must never give up. And I will not lie to you, our survival against the Hellhounds is slim to none. But we can get the townfolk to safety. We can go out on our shield. I am no warrior, I have zero battle instincts. You were the one that defeated the pack of werewolves in the forest that day. You were the one that helped the vampire take out the cannibals. You fought the demon, not me. May I share a story with you, Doctor? There were once two villagers that looked after cattle. The first villager never retreated from danger, never faltered. In fact, the boy would roar and scream and take fighting stances just to protect the cattle, and yet never fought a day in his life. The second villager was trained from a young age just for battle. His skills were admirable and weapons strong. When the village found out that the first villager was untrained, then they chose the second one for his skills. The cattle began decreasing rapidly every day. You see, face to face with danger, the second villager froze. This was different from training. Hence, the boy would retreat and lie to the villagers that he was outnumbered. Now, the first villager was also terrified, but unlike the second, he had every reason to be since he was untrained. It wasn't his skills that prevented the loss of livestock. It was his courage and bravery to stand strong in what was right. If the mind breaks, the body will follow. Now, who will you be? Will you be the first villager that despite being terrified stood his ground? Or would you be the second villager to run like a coward and hide? What's the plan? How do I even get out of here? In terms of how, I wish I could tell you. But what I do know is that for the first step forward, all you have to do is get up. Then we fight. Alright, Werewolf. Let's dance one more time. Victor the werewolf rose to his knees like a man possessed. The wobbly feeling still ran through his legs. That was the hardest he had ever been hit. The hellhound that knocked out Victor was still encased in a lilac-colored force field, courtesy of Myra. The other one gnawed and snapped its jaws, trying to devour the townfolk that ran towards the portal, while Myra cast purple projectile orbs, slowing it down. Her strength wavered and her nose began bleeding. No witch in the history of the supernatural world fought a hellhound, let alone enclosing one in a barrier for this long. Her strength was impressive, but the barrier diminished with each swipe that Monrax took. Victor, in a push-up position, stretched his arms forward past shoulder length, channeling all the energy to his legs. With the stronger hellhound still barely enclosed, Monrax was about to bite Myra's neck. Victor lunged and leaped through the air with all the might that he could muster, and elbowed the hellhound so hard it flew a mile while breaking tree trunks with his body. This would not kill the hound, but it did buy some time. After landing, the werewolf had his eyes fixed on the other one. The witch was at her weakest now as blood poured out from her nose. The portal became smaller and smaller. She could not hold the force field no longer. Time was running out. Myra took a deep breath and wiped her nose. The relief of seeing the werewolf back on his feet was a blessing in disguise. There were just a few more people left to enter the portal and reach safety. The werewolf thanked the witch for her help as her expression changed. Victor heard Monrax getting up to its feet. Meanwhile, Monrax slammed the barrier again and again, faster and harder this time. The werewolf put his head down contemplating something, and then picked it back up and smiled at Myra. "Forgive me for what I am going to do," he said. As the last person climbed through the diminishing portal, the barrier shattered, and Monrax was released. Victor grabbed Myra by the waist and tossed her into the portal seconds before it closed. The witch fell into the lake and slammed her hands against the water in frustration. Myra tried reopening the portal, but her energy was depleted. She had no choice but to focus on the townfolk beside her and getting them to safety. The witch knew that the werewolf had sacrificed himself just so that she could make it out alive. The werewolf took a leap of faith and faced the danger head-on. For the first time, his thoughts were empty, and for the first time he entered battle knowing fully well that he was going to die. The werewolf landed in a thunderous manner with bend in his knees. Victor made himself look bigger by puffing out his chest and giving a roar so loud that even the birds throughout the forest scattered. This was his version of a battle cry. The werewolf ran like the wind, the quickest that he had ever been, and charged at the Hellhounds united. Which one was he going to hit first? Victor knew that taking them both on would be impossible. So how was he going to pick them apart? Monrax, the powerhouse, sprinted forward, miles faster than its brother. They both were troublesome to handle, but the power from this one was too risky to mess around with. It lunged and flew directly at Victor. The werewolf swung his right arm as wide as possible, fist clenched as tightly as can be, and landed the biggest punch to the Hellhound's head. The impact shook the leaves of the trees. An eye for an eye. Monrax had been knocked out momentarily, but the brother, Monrix, with its terrifying jaw opening abnormally wide, leaped and put to Victor's shoulder. Its teeth pushed through the muscle and penetrated the cartilage. The werewolf took a swing afterwards, but missed hopelessly. The Hellhound wasn't done. It landed on its feet and swiftly turned around, charging at Victor for the second time. It wasn't the speed or the power from this one, rather the double jaw able to change trajectory of its bite at the very last second. The werewolf hit his damaged shoulder from the charging Hellhound. Victor took more of a fully shell stance, inviting Monrix to target the left shoulder and capitalize with a right claw to the face. But Victor was sadly mistaken. There was a last-minute change and the Hellhound ripped out the werewolf's stomach. Looking high, yet targeting low, the wound was deep, gushing out with blood, and yet the werewolf's rage had blinded him from the pain. Monrax gained consciousness from the massive blow. It barely got to its feet as it wobbled around. That was the first time the powerhouse Hellhound got hit so hard. Then Monrax witnessed something. The werewolf with his ripped stomach ran towards Monrix and grabbed the Hellhound. It continued gnawing and snapping at Victor, but the werewolf used both his hands to grip the Hellhound's jaw, and then he snapped it. The crunch had echoed throughout the forest that night. The hound was lifeless, and its rubbery jaw had every single bone snapped and broken. Victor's rage could mask the pain no more. The werewolf fell into a seating position and dragged himself backwards against a tree trunk as he bled out. The toughest battle indeed. Monrax walked to its brother and gave a whiny cry. It sniffed the body of the hound and nudged it, trying to wake it up. But Monrix was dead. The remaining Hellhound was distracted by Victor's laugh as it picked up its head. An unusual evil laugh with a hint of mockery. Monrax, vicious as ever, walked slow and steady towards the werewolf. Victor coughed out blood. His wounds weren't healing, and it withered. Monrix had glands that secreted poison. The bite wounds would slowly drain the werewolf of his life. And yet, whether it was Victor in control, or perhaps the cursed werewolf, but maybe both of them, he raised his middle finger to the remaining Hellhound and smiled with blood dripping from his mouth. Going out on their shield, remember? The people were safe. Myra was safe. Suddenly the pain didn't feel that bad anymore. Victor saw his wife standing in the distance, like a light at the end of the tunnel, calling him to the afterlife. His eyes were heavy and droopy. Just before Mondrax could devour Victor, its ears pointed upwards with a jolting turn of the head behind. Behind the foliage lurked a monstrous, tall figure. Victor couldn't see who or what that was, only that it had red eyes that lit up in the dark. The hellhound growled and showed its sharp teeth as it ran towards this mysterious being, but Mondrax did not know that it was running to its death. The trees blocked Victor's view, but this monster picked up the hellhound with its left hand and impaled the torso with the right in a split second. The hellhound was then slammed to the ground with a hole through its body. The terrifying monster then stepped onto the hellhound's head like stepping on an insect. But this monster's foot stomp was so loud and strong that it shook the entire forest. Mondrax was dead, its head mushed from the stomp. Victor couldn't move. His eyes closed longer with each blink. Finally, the mysterious, menacing, monstrous being stepped into the shadowy moonlight. Glowing red eyes, 8 feet tall, claws and teeth so sharp that it could slice through metal, muscle upon muscle. This aura that it gave off felt terrifying, and as Victor's eyes closed, the questionable thought of this unknown beast being friend or foe was left unanswered. With its red eyes fixed on Victor, Ragnar the White Wolf approaches.